morning. Oh, I got up, shoveled snow, because Dan always lets the dogs out before he shovels snow, and then we've got dog footprints. You see, if you step on fresh snow, it packs down, and when it packs down, it sticks, and when it sticks, it's harder to remove. So I'm like, get out there and shovel. You know, I sweep the walk before I step out. Like, I put the broom down and I sweep it. I mean, you get out there and you clear the snow before you bring the dogs out, before you go walking around in it. So I just got up and started going because, you know, why can't that man shut up in the morning? He's like, oh, and I'm going to do this. He's like narrating from the inside of his head, and he's like, what are you doing? Are you going out to shovel? It's like, and I'm thinking, you know, 60 seconds from now, you'll have an answer to your question. So I just went, shh. It's blatantly obvious I'm going out to shovel, isn't it? You know, I'm not going out there to sit down in the snow and get a suntan. Yeah, so I went out and shoveled snow before breakfast and then came in, and I actually got all the birds done before I sat down to eat, which is nice because now I don't have to worry about forgetting it. What does getting the birds done mean? Well, Sam gets a piece of my morning breakfast. He gets a little bit of my egg yolk because the vet said he wasn't fat enough, that he was too thin. So we've upped, and he really loves egg yolk, and every morning he ties into it. And then he gets a selection of freshies, as well as making sure that, you know, his seed dish is full and stuff. He gets carrots and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and a bit of orange, a bit of grape, and sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. When I go to the store, I try to find things where I could just buy a small quantity of something that I think Sam will like, you know. I will sometimes buy those mixed packs of melons and pineapple and stuff. But it can be a problem because often they're sold in too big a package, and then sometimes what it is Dan goes and eats it all, and then the bird doesn't have any. Sometimes Dan doesn't eat any, and we had to buy a lot, and so then it goes off. So, you know, come outside with me. I'm getting hot. Having a hot flash. Yes, I am. So, yeah, that's Sam the parrot. He's the parrot. He gets a selection of lovely, delightful freshies every morning. And then the twits, they get their seeds checked, their water changed, and they get a bit of fresh greens every morning because, you know, you need fresh greens. Just wipe the snow off my chair. There's the bus. Haven't done a darn thing in there in over a week. That's why there's no bus video. There's nothing to show you. There was a little bit of stuff done before. There was a little bit of work done before the snow hit, and then there just hasn't been any. I haven't even gone in there, but I'm going to be cool enough to go back in the house shortly, and I'll just do that. So, yeah, woke up, had my two microwave poached eggs and my orange, glass of water, and I'm just currently having a cup of tea, except that I'm not because I'm out here in the cold cooling off because hot flashes. There. I think I'm cool enough now to stop sweating. I wouldn't mind the hot flash if it wasn't for the sweating. It's really more of a sweat flash. I didn't sweat when I was a young adult. I didn't sweat until very recently with the cancer made me sick and the menopause, and the cancer brought on menopause early or whatever. The cancer brought on a form of menopause because it had completely enveloped the parts of me that would normally be producing hormones. So, yeah, it would have been 2015 that I started having hot flashes and sweating for the first time in my life. Seriously, I never sweated. I didn't care how hot it got. I didn't sweat. I just slowed down. Even workouts, even running or jogging or biking, I really didn't sweat. So I'm not used to it, and it's not very comfortable. Yeah, joy. What else happened today? Well, I'm having my breakfast, and I'm watching I'm watching YouTube videos. I watch a channel called Finding Simon. And Finding Simon is a young fella that he got a van and he moved into it with his girlfriend and started the channel. And then they drove around a lot, and then she finally stopped and he continued on without her. And then that last summer he sold the van and bought a motorbike. And he motorbiked back and forth across Canada, from Vancouver to Ottawa and then back again in a big rush. And he's doing this all with a great big dog named Champ, old dog who just is having the best dog life ever. He doesn't feed him dog food; he feeds him whatever he's having for supper. So that's the thing. If you're eating a healthy diet, your dog can eat what you eat. Actually, manufacturers have us all fooled into thinking that dogs have some kind of special needs that regular food alone can't supply. And in return for our belief that they know what they're doing, they feed our dogs the cheapest garbage they can. Animals that have died in the field are turned into some kind of pink slime and then adulterated with as much flour and chickpea flour, probably. I'm not even sure what all they put in there, but it's the cheapest material they can find that will still pass the chemistry tests of having the right amount of proteins and things. They basically cheat us, big time. Feed your dog real food, and your dog will thrive. I wouldn't recommend a whole lot of bread in your dog's diet. I wouldn't recommend a lot of potatoes in your dog's diet. Kind of focus on those proteins, but feed your dog real food. Also, feed your dog a big old chunk of raw meat once a week, something that he has to chew on, because it's cheaper than getting your dog's teeth done at the vet. When you take your dog to the vet to have his teeth cleaned, they have to put the dog under, so you're paying for anesthetics. More often than not, some of those teeth will be rotted and have to be removed. So now your dog has been in pain without you knowing from bad teeth, and is in pain from the extraction. Additionally, you know that dog breath? You're so used to it. Every dog in the world has it, right? Not my dogs. Honestly, my dogs, including the old husky that came here after a kibble diet. Her teeth cleaned up. We put her on the raw meat, and her teeth are now clean and pearly white, and I don't know, they weren't that bad when I got her, so maybe the SPCA did something with that. But yeah, raw meat is far easier than brushing their teeth. It's certainly worth the expense, and there isn't a dog on the planet that isn't going to be glad of it. However, the first time your dog sees raw meat, your dog may not understand what to do with it. It's very attractive, yes. My dog mouthed it and went, and it didn't collapse into dust like she's used to, Piper, the first time I gave it to her. So she dropped it and looked at me like, what are you giving me? You know, where's food? Where's my food? And I picked it up, put it in her mouth again. She dropped it again. So the next time I put it in her mouth, and then I started to take it away. You know, I played tug with her, like I waved it in front of her nose and hit her lips with it gently, and she pull, pull, and all of a sudden, a chunk ripped off. Okay, the light bulb moment. And she's had no problem eating this stuff ever since. So you may need to play with your dog a little bit to feed him some of that raw meat. Good choices include the parts of the chicken that you don't eat. Instead of roasting a whole chicken, cut off the parts you know you and your family aren't going to eat. When's the last time anybody ate the back of the chicken? Well, how many actually eat the wing tips? Heck, we don't even eat the whole wing. We eat the drumstick, and even that's iffy. We eat the thighs and the breasts. It's pretty much what we eat on a chicken. So I take my great big old yellow chef's knife, and I'm going to share that with you. So I'm going to turn off the camera, and then I'm going to get set up, and then I'm going to turn the camera back on, and as today's vlog, I'm going to let you watch me cutting up a chicken. Maybe you've never seen a chicken butchered. You know, I had to figure it out on my own. And it took me a while. So, see you. Okay then. I have done the dishes because I needed to get them out of the way. Because I like to do this in the sink because, I don't know, meat juices and all that. We've got 2 containers for the dog parts and 1 container, a roasting pan for the people parts. And I'm just sharpening my knife because this knife needs to be as sharp as it can be. You want a good quality knife. This one's a $60 Zwilling and J.A. Henkel's knife. And it's already got damage to it, but it works just fine. I got a dent in it. I was chopping a frozen bone most carelessly. You don't need force if it's sharp enough, so you really want it to be good and sharp. So sharpen it on the right angle with your sharpening steel. See the angle it's at? Do that wrong, like you don't want to have it like that because then you'll dull it, and if you do it like this you're doing nothing. So you got to get an angle that's appropriate. I think it's like 15 degrees or something, I don't know. So I may need that sharpening steel in a while. It will. And just lightly accidentally brushing by the blade is enough to chop you, so I always turn the blade away from me when I set it down. This is a 7-pound, 8-ounce chicken from the Wandering Market. It's organic. All of this stuff, Piper loves it. So that's Piper's dinners. Which, when you've got a husky, 60-pound, 5-pound husky to feed, you're glad if she'll eat anything you give her. All right, some meat juices. And this had too many holes in it, so we're going to throw that away. It's good for now. There. And to begin, let's see. I like to start by cutting the drumstick away from the main part of the bird. See? There we go. Look at that. Look at how fast that's coming apart. Look at that. It's like just going through there like nothing. You see, that's why we do this by the sink. Look at all that blood. Now I save that because, again, dog likes it. Dog likes it, it's good for dogs. More nutrition is good. So, let's see if we can drain this darn bird a little bit better. Not really. We'll cut this other one off as well. Cut this one off here also. First the skin gets cut away. And the parrot is going to talk along. He doesn't know what we're saying, and he doesn't know what he's saying, but he's happy to participate all the same. So then I flip this thing over, and I find the line. You see this? There's a line right here, and you can actually feel the joint bone here. So that's where you want to start cutting in here, and you want to try and cleave it directly in that joint. And if you cut the skin away first, it really helps. Because you want to keep as much of the meat on the part on the thigh as possible. Now I'm lifting to open the joint, and I'm cutting down in to find it. And there you go. See, I've cut right at the joint, and the rest just comes away free, and we're ready to cook that. And those drumsticks are big enough for people, so I'm going to keep them for the people. So once again, cutting, trying to find that point right between the joint. There, and a little bit of pull force helps. So, there it is. The leg has been cut free. See that? Look at how quick that goes. And the same thing with the wings. Open the joint, find the joint, cut the skin and the meat. There we go. See, it's all about having a really sharp knife. And then you just run the knife past. Look at that. There's no force required. It just glides through. Bam! Good knife. Now that's dog food. And because I have a tiny dog who can't eat a lot, I mean, because of the bone, it looks like more food than it is. But Timmy only gets an ounce per meal. See, if you try to cut on the joint, you'll encounter resistance. But if you cut between, if you move around until you find between the joint, ba-bam, just like that. Nice and easy. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with that one, because tiny dog is good enough just to get the, what they call those, the mini drumettes. Again, so you open the joint, you cut around it, and then the joint will come apart almost like magic, see? And again here, cut the skin, start opening the joint, find it, cut between it, cut around it until you find it. Having a little more trouble with this one. Make sure that blade isn't somewhere that you can accidentally brush it, because it's that sharp. I mean, that's why it works so well. It's that sharp. It's like if that was your finger, and now it's not doing it. It's sharp. Now the last part is the breast, and I don't cut the breast off the meat. I don't bother cutting the meat off. I suppose I could. Yeah, okay, so you cut a line along either side of that breastbone that sticks up, that keel, and you just cut down as far as the bones get, and then you just start cutting along those bones. Remember, keep your fingers clear of that blade. It's that sharp. You'll be sorry. I've done it. It hurts very little, in fact, but it bleeds like crazy. And after it's been there a while, then it starts to hurt. But when you've got a very sharp blade, you don't necessarily feel the cut when it first starts. You don't start to feel it until it gets oxygen in it. See, look at that. That's all really good food for dogs. I mean, this is the stuff that keeps their teeth clean, and it's like, I'm not going to eat that stuff anyway. I might make soup from it, but we'll make soup from the bones that, like, when we eat these things, we'll put those bones in the freezer. Oh, you can't even see that. Let me just adjust the camera a little bit. Oh yeah, you can see. That thing's got a wider field of view than I think. So when we eat these, you know, the bones will be roasted. Then they're no longer good to feed to the dogs. So I put them in a soup pot. I put them in the freezer. And when I have enough to make soup, I put them in a soup pot. And after they've been made into soup, they've been boiled for 5 days. Now they're dog food ready. See how I'm cutting along the bone? The secret here is the very, very sharp knife. The meat just falls away in front of it. And there you go. That's the people food. All of this is going to get fed to the beasties, but that's too big a chunk. Even my husky's not going to eat a chunk that big. So the next thing I do is I cut down through the ribs. And they're so thin that they readily give way to my knife, and there's actually a point where they're kind of split anyway. Now at this point you have to crack some joints. Oh, that's a good one. There's a good crack. Now I can cut between there. That is one meal for a husky. And just like that. I will have to cut those wings up because I only have 2 cut pieces of wing. But I've got, what, 3 or 4 husky meals. So, in order to have as many meals for Chihuahua, I need to cut more pieces because I don't want to have to do this later when it comes time to feed them. Now, this is the hardest part of the whole job, is getting this apart. It's pretty much a matter of pulling and yanking with the occasional slicing, because the ligaments get sliced then. Oops, the joints break and the ligaments slice. Yeah, you're going to get dirty hands. That's what soap and water is for. After you're done, before and after, you're going to use soap and water. So, here you go. See? That, and that, for instance, would be a husky meal. He gets 1 ounce per meal. She gets 10 ounces per meal. I think, is that how it works? She's 10 times his size, yeah. So, there's another husky meal, but this little one is too big to fit my plastic, so I need to cut it down a little bit farther. Does it fit now? I'll have to cut these down. So, I'll cut these off. The tips off. Slicey, slicey, slice. And you know, you don't want to do that to your knife, forcing it through a bone, forcing it, hammering it, because that's how I got that dent. You will damage the edge of your blade if you try to force your blade through. So you want to find your way past where the soft tissues are, find your way around the bones. The dog's teeth will cut that bone just fine. The dog will just, even the tiny Chihuahua will chew the bones to nothing. They crunch, crunch, crunch like they're eating potato chips. It's amazing. And they thoroughly enjoy it. So you start by slicing the skin so that it doesn't interfere. And then you find the space between the joints and slice through the ligaments that are holding it together. So your joints are held together by ligaments. They are free-floating against each other except for those ligaments and muscles and skin, the tissues. This is going to have to be shrunk down a little farther. A little bit of ripping and tearing. There we go. And don't show your parrot this stuff just in case he can recognize a bird corpse when he sees one. Just in case. Just, you know. You gotta be careful, that edge. The edge will hurt you. I have to remember all the time. See, this is the stuff that cleans your dog's teeth. It's this muscle fiber. So you want to give them big chunks in order to force them to chew. Is it going to fit now? Yeah, I can make that fit. I can absolutely make that fit. And there you go. So yeah, like this, an ounce per, 2 ounces per 10 pounds of dog. That's the way to calculate it. And before you handle things, get that meat juice off. You don't necessarily need soap and water every time, but put a lid on there, and then I can rinse the bottom because I went and set it down in the blood. This is bacteria management. Get that blood off that package before you move it. It's not clean anymore. This board will be cleaned by dog tongue on the floor. Hyper takes care of that just beautifully. And now I've got dog food. That goes in the fridge because they eat it raw. And I got people food. And I'm going to put that in the roaster. It's going to be very simple. I'm just going to put some water in there to keep it hydrated up above the rack. And then I'm going to take olive oil in a salad spray bottle. Spray the olive oil onto the skin. And then I've got some dressing salt. That since my hands are wet, I have to first put it out on my hand. There we go. And I put some of that onto the chicken. It makes a difference. People really notice. I think the salt helps crisp out the skin, even while the oil helps keep the moisturizer in. It's kind of funny. So that's ready for the. That's all I do. That's it. That's all you need to do. You can get fancy, but you only need to get fancy if you eat so much chicken that you're sick and tired of just plain roast chicken. And who's ever sick of just plain roast chicken? You ever get sick of just plain roast chicken? I sure don't. So, I haven't preheated the oven. I should have. Yeah, I know. But I didn't. So, let's see. We're going to cook it real slow. Bake. 350, we're going to take it down to 325. There we go. And into the oven it goes. I have to set you down again. Spread out that. There we go. Into the oven. There you go. Turn on the light. That's it. Now we clean up. Yes. Gotta clean up. See, we got blood on the counter. Blood on the knife. So hot water and soap. I use a sponge. I change it when it gets gross. I use very hot water kill the bacteria. Lots of soap. It works. Haven't put that meat back in the fridge yet. So look at this. There's actually meat on the tap. See, you want to worry about stuff like that. That's how you cross-contaminate. That's how you get raw chicken in your salad or your potatoes or your sandwich or your lunch or your cup of tea or whatever. And then if that stuff, if said raw chicken sits out a little while, doggy's done sanitizing. Dogs have sanitizing antibacterial saliva. So yeah, like if you turn around and you've got just a little scrap of crap on your tap or on the counter that you missed, and you turn around and you make a salad, and then you leave your salad sitting on the counter till supper time, because, you know, salads can do that. That little scrap starts to feed on your salad ingredients, and you actually will get contamination in your salad. So even though there wasn't any meat in it, the meat you were doing earlier corrupted your salad. So part of cooking is cleaning. Always, always. And don't forget to clean the backside of that board. In this case, it was on the floor. But we also noticed there was juices got off the board onto the counter. So we cleaned it off. You don't need bleach if you get everything off. Also, which wood itself has germ-killing properties. So, in fact, if you're using a wooden cutting board instead of a plastic one, you really just have to get the crap off of it. You want to get it out of the cracks in the counter. You want to get it out everywhere. And besides, every time I have hot soapy water, I like to use it. See, this is the part where the sponge gets cleaned off. I rinse it very thoroughly, using very hot water. In fact, it's almost too hot to handle now. A little bit. And yeah, even when I had no immune system, I was still not getting sick from my own cooking. If you find your whole family gets the 24-hour flu, you're probably missing some components. You're maybe defrosting your chicken on the counter instead of in the fridge. Or the way to defrost a chicken fast is to put it in a bucket under a tap. Put it in a bucket under a tap with still wrapped in plastic, although mine did get soaked, and run the cold water at a trickle so that it overflows the sides of the buckets and continues to. And it's not, you know, at a restaurant, what they do is they've got a pipe they stick in the drain, and the drain sticks up a little bit so that when the water reaches a certain height, it starts to go down the drain. But meanwhile, the sink is full of cold water, and so the running cold circulates around the meat, keeping the meat cold while it defrosts. So it takes away the freeze, but it keeps it chilled. So that, because what can happen, one of the ways that people poison themselves, and you don't know you're poisoned, you just feel sick. You got the runs, you're barfing, you feel like hell. It's a 24-hour flu, everybody calls it. And I learned this in food sanitation class. It is not, and yes, I've been professionally trained, it's not a flu. It's food poisoning. And one of the ways you get it is the outside of your chicken reaches room temperature before the inside of your chicken is done thawing. And when you allow that to happen, that's when the bacteria starts to grow. And the bacteria comes from the factory. It comes from a chicken having a dirty life. The cleaner your chicken, the less important it is. It is actually possible to eat raw chicken if the chicken is raised in a clean environment with a lot, you know, like in your backyard as opposed to in a chicken hutch surrounded by its own feces. If the chicken's not wandering around pecking in its own gross crap, and it's handled the whole way from killing onward, it's handled with sanitary conditions, with care and sanitation, that chicken will actually be so low on salmonella that it's pretty much safe to eat. But the way that we raise our chickens in our society is actually, it's filthy. They're in, at the best, they're generally in a dark barn with electric lights, and a dirt floor, and so a few roosts, and the poop just goes where the poop goes. There's no incentive for chickens to. Well, that's frustrating. These batteries, I bought them last summer, and they're already not able to go even a half an hour between charges. And the interruption has made me forget my train of thought, but I have a feeling that my train of thought had really made its way into the station and was just bouncing back and forth between the edges of the track, so, or shuttling cars around. There's a metaphor for you. So that's how you cut up a chicken, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!